Hello and welcome back to the Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast. Today's episode, we're going to be covering sometimes versus all the time foods. And I believe this is a topic I've covered in previous episodes, but I'm going to recover it today and tie in some things that'll be relevant since we are coming into the holidays, today being Halloween. Happy Halloween, by the way. And how you can make your food choices work with you, not against you, or even in a sense where you feel limited, restricted, and stuck or forced really to feel like you have to eat a certain way in order to be successful on your fasting journey. Because the truth is, you can have your cake and eat it too. Like hypothetically, there's a little bit more to that, obviously, but we're going to get into that. So stay tuned. Welcome to the Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast, where we will explore how a simplified practice of fasting can positively influence your entire body, mind, and lifestyle, helping you live a long, healthy, and meaningful life. Hi, I'm Vicky, and I'm your passionate fasting support coach. With fasting as a lifestyle tool, I've shed over 200 pounds and kept it off without any surgery, diet fads, or gimmicks. And I am confident you can also achieve all your goals with this powerful lifestyle tool. If you're ready to tap into history's oldest healing modality for yourself, I encourage you to check out my services at thefastingfocusedlifestyle.com. I appreciate you for joining me on this week's episode, and I look forward to sharing some valuable fasting support with you after this short ad break. Thank you. So what you eat does and does not matter. And I say that with a little asterisk next to that statement. And what I mean by that is, if you've heard me speak and share advice and support at all before, you know, first and foremost, I named my business The Fasting Focused Lifestyle because I always want to encourage folks to use fasting first and foremost. So you focus on your fasting adherence, on your schedule that you're doing, that you're showing up for yourself every single day in your fasting efforts. And to me, and just to give a little anecdote, for those that have heard me talk about this before, when I started out in August of 2018, the biggest culprit of why I was the way that I was just nonstop eating. I was nonstop eating all the time. Like eyes open, I was thinking about food all day until I went, time to go to bed. And I always needed to be eating something, and not, including any stressful times and things that I experienced through the day, feelings, whatever. If it was a hard feeling, an exciting feeling, stress, whatever the feeling, to me, it was enough of a motivation to feel that need to grab something to eat and to pacify this emotion that came over me. So to me, fasting was crazy enough to sound like it could potentially work. And going into this, I remember, I say this, and I remember standing, because at the time I was in my grandparents' house in Central Florida. And I remember standing in the living room space and just feeling so still overwhelmed because we were still in the process of closing up my grandparents' house and organizing and getting rid of everything. It was just such a emotionally stressful time at the moment. And, the harsh critic in my mind of diet culture, expectations, and rules was saying, oh, you need to do keto. You got to restrict. You can't have this and and bad foods, and stay away from this, stay away from all the foods that you like and are pacifying, And then the other part of me was like, fasting will allow you to have so much more flexibility. I was this back and forth angel and devil on my shoulder sort of thing. But I remember I was standing in the living room space, and I was thinking, fasting just seems, I hadn't tried it yet. I just thought to myself, fasting seemed just powerful enough from the outside without even trying it yet, just crazy enough that it could provide some benefit in just the next smallest step in. So for me, I was like, okay, I'm going to do a 16-8, and I'm going to give that my ultimate focus. Now, to add a little additional asterisk caveat to that as well. My meals, grant you at that time, still, vegetarian, vegan kind of figuring out which dairy foods or, additives and things bothered my stomach to the, uncomfortable point. But I wasn't at a point where I was very critical of my choices, but I was okay, I'll just kind of tolerate this in my food choices. I can remember, if you're familiar with the brand Gardein, there were these frozen meals that had Gardein meat alternatives in there with like pasta and vegetables. Like I remember there was a pasta sausage one. There was one with chicken, and like it was all like vegan ones, but it was like a vegan sausage with pasta. There was a vegan chicken one, like vegan Alfredo, chicken Alfredo sort of thing. And I remember doing those quite a bit. And then having that be something that I was exploring and getting familiar with, of like, okay, I'm not going to judge myself or restrict or limit and think about in a punishment sort of sense what these food choices look like in this period of time. And I felt like how I would consult folks with Ideal Protein and thinking about the way this is structured is in phases. If you've ever heard of Ideal Protein before, there's phases. So for me, it was like, this is the first phase. And I saw this beginning stage of getting into this journey as phase one. Okay, to me, what does phase one of this fasting lifestyle look? Okay, to me, phase one felt like, I'm not going to worry about my food choices. Am I going to be hitting the drive-thru every day? No. But am I going to be like, girl, no, that's bad, that's bad? No, because I knew that was a very big contributor to negative headspace that I had for so long, of like restrict, judge, demonize, bad. Like that wasn't helping up here. That wasn't helping at all. So why am I going to elect to choose to continue and have things that make me feel miserable, that I'm not happy preparing foods that are to a list of some big voodoo person disconnected, detached from me, saying how I should eat? They don't know me. I feel like I know what is commonsensically good. You know what's commonsensically good. Hopefully, right? If you have kids, you know what's common sense, what you feel good commonsensically feeding them. And that was kind of like a term. I know it's kind of like a silly term, but that's what I latched onto. Common sense, commonsensically good for you choices. And this evolution that eventually came later on was the idea of not good and bad, not cheat and like list or parameters or, whatever. It was, you can have this food sometimes, have this food all the time, but they can coexist. They can exist in the same weight loss journey that you have for yourself. They can coexist. Now, what that looks like for each person, obviously is going to vary and differ throughout your journey. But if you were like I was first starting out, again, I had zero intentions of drawing a line in the sand and saying, I'm going to lose 200 pounds. No, it was not like that at all. It was like, I just need to fix this crazy eating monster that I have living in me right now, that is just obsessive compulsive with food and salty, savory, sweet, like gimme, whatever. And I knew electing to compress the amount of time that I was eating to just this 8-hour eating window and allowing myself to presently stay committed to what fasting could feel like, what it could provide, all these things. You see the value in this as each day went on. I don't have a photographic memory, but I have this very vivid memory and feeling of those first 2 weeks and how significant just this choice of allowing my focus to be to the adherence of the practice of staying in a fasted state consistently every single day. Throughout the first week, I noticed things starting to shift. I didn't say I couldn't have that. I allowed those common sense choices to come into play. If I felt like, I liked how I felt after eating this meal. I like how it made me feel into my next fast. Noticing these body physiological changes, signals, cues that your body lets you know of while you're in this fasted state after you break your fast and eat your meal. Like when I first started, I didn't care about how I broke my fast. Like I didn't know anything about that. But when I share to folks about breaking your fast using a dietary fat, should it be something that you are, demonizing, restricting, limiting, punishing in that sense? Please no. Progress over perfection is what you're going to be after. Marathon, not a sprint kind of mentality here. So those first 2 weeks I've shared before, those first 2 weeks of just adhering to 16:8, not being restrictive or strict or limiting, punishment mentality with my food choices, reduced my weight by 21 pounds in 2 weeks just from doing the 16:8. Granted, I was 200 pounds heavier than I am right now. So of course, when you're heavier, it comes off really quickly in the beginning. But this beautiful shift starts to happen within us the further along that we go, that we can't stay the same method and process for the duration of our journey. And the more that folks are able to realize this and put those pieces of understanding together, the better things are going to be. Period. Like the better things are going to be for you when you make the connection of your body physiological response, your mental reaction, feelings, emotions to how you feel about what you're eating. Like when you go to the store and you buy the food, do you feel good about it? Or is it just like, oh, I have to get this? No, I completely disagree with these lists and, food shopping lists that are just like shoved in your face if you have expectations of, reaching desired weight goals and stuff. I feel like it should be this way that you think about what you know is healthy, what you believe, and have confidence and common sense into what is good for you, what you like, what you prefer, what is going to benefit, and how those can coexist. Even your sometimes foods can coexist with your all the time food choices. I passionately believe those two choices, sometimes and all the time food, can coexist. Truth be told, throughout my entire weight loss journey, I have had the dreaded demonized potato. I've had pasta. I've had bread. Do I have it every single day? Do I have potatoes, pasta, and bread at every meal? Absolutely not. This balance and harmony that exists within each and every single one of us at varying levels and how we have a physiological response, blood sugar response, insulin response to the foods that we eat should be something that we take accountability and responsibility for. And I say that in a motivational, supportive, empathetic, caring way towards figuring out the nuts and bolts working of each of our own bodies. And I think there's something really kind of like poetic and beautiful about that, and figuring out what that formula of food looks like for us. It can be extremely, extremely powerful if we allow that realization, that discovery to surface from within us. And getting playful with different seasonal vegetables. Maybe if there's food that is regional to wherever you are in the world, that can be something to integrate as well. But to feel like you have to restrict, limit, punish, or think in this negative sense about the food that you're eating on your weight loss journey is something I don't agree with at all. And I think if we break away from that, even if you just like, okay, well, Vicky says it must be, no, like check the facts on that. Dr. Fung says it. I should actually provide an additional resource because he even says it. And I remember seeing it like towards the beginning of my journey and being like, don't count calories. Like Dr. Jason Fung says this in his content. He says this multiple times. He says it in his group. He says it in his books. There's no need to count calories. None. No need to count calories when you're on a fasting journey. Yes, you need to be aware of the food choices, but do so in a way that's going to benefit your journey. So if you're thinking about your foods like, oh my God, that's bread. In the back of your mind, you're like, oh girl, I love bread. Ooh, I want some bread. Ooh, let's have some pasta. How can you make it beneficial for you? I will play how can I add nutrient density to this? Nutrient density. Okay, what does nutrient density mean? To me, that means how much benefits with the natural, real, recognizable food. If you are putting in real, recognizable food into your body, that's like check. check in this, this mystical hypothetical list in your mind of like, okay, is it, does it have beneficial nutrients? Is it real, recognizable? Is my body going to have this food in the stomach and be like, that is great. This is fuel. This is nutrients. I'm going to be able to break this down, spread it all throughout my bloodstream. My digestive system is going to receive this food that is coming down the pipeline and be like, yes, girl, gimme. Like, this is great. Feeding that good gut bacteria and just restoring, bringing the nutrients that your body needs in order to function properly. Like, is this have as much nutrients in there as I can possibly get while still tasting good, still meeting that psychological need of, yes, this tastes great. I feel wonderful having this. Like, I'm happy. I feel great. Like, this is, feeling like full harmony, the harmony kind of experience of eating. Is it passive? Is it meeting your meal satiety needs? Is it where you feel good about your food choices for your weight loss journey? Is it provide the essential nutrients that your body needs in order to function? Does it have adequate dietary fats, adequate levels of protein and complex carbohydrates, your dietary fibers? Like, these are the components that you need, and focusing on making sure those are properly met instead of, I got to stay under X amount of calories, but it's this, fake processed bar or this packaged food. Like, think about for a second as we pivot slightly and think about that for a second. All these manufactured diet foods, what benefit are they bringing to your body? Not counting what, misleading claims that they can put on the outside of the package. Think about what your intentions are. And I say this with images in my mind that I'm imagining all these, protein bars, all different companies. I'm not going to, single out one company bar and exactly, but I remember consuming many of them pre-fasting to where, these protein bars have all these glorified, glossied up, doctored images on the front of, I remember like there was a birthday cake one, there's a donut one, there's a red velvet cake one. And we see that and we're like, okay, it satisfies that, I want a cake, and it's super processed, but it's a protein bar. Okay, let's break it down a little bit further. If you feel like it's really necessary to have these protein bars, what are you teaching your, subconscious? What are you teaching your habit, your behavior, your emotions of thinking, well, I really want what the treat is from on the outside of the package. It says donut. It says birthday cake. It says red velvet cake. It says chocolate chip cookie. It says peanut butter cup, like whatever this stuff. Subconsciously, you're saying, that's what I want, the treat or whatever it is on the outside of the package. But then you open up the package and it's the most disgusting looking blobbed thing. And you're like, ugh. And I'm a smell person. Like, if it smells funky, I'm just like, ugh. These protein meal replacement bars. Think about that for a second. Think about this for a second. How crazy this is. A meal replacement bar. That makes me crazy. Like, why are you going to replace a nutrient dense meal with a hyper processed bar of I don't know why mystery meat. I know it's not meat, but like mystery shenanigans. What does that communicate to your body when you put that in? Subconsciously, you're telling to your mind, excuse me, I fucking wish this was a cake. I wish this was a donut. I wish this was a brownie. I wish this was a peanut butter cup. So when you taste it and it's not what you expect, immediately you're like, this is gross. I'm just going to choke this down. And in the back of your mind, you're still craving whatever that thing was that promised it on the outside of the package. But you're not getting that. You're getting this oddly tasting, chalky, maybe artificial thing. You put this bar inside your belly and your body is like, what was that? What is this thing? What is this? It doesn't look real. It's not my body. I don't recognize this. How do we digest it? How do we break it down? And then people wonder why they have stomach upset problems. Like, what are you doing to yourself? This includes all these artificial diet foods, these keto products and chips. And sorry, not sorry, but I'm going to roast Ideal Protein a little bit on this, because this was the one thing that really like got under my skin and was a catalyst to pushing me from like just walking away from doing Ideal Protein and being a coach for Ideal Protein at the same time. And I've talked about this before, so I apologize if you've heard me talk about this before, but they had these products called Rice Krispie Squares, and they were about that big. Now, according to Ideal Protein and the program with Ideal Protein, you had to have 3 Ideal Protein pouches or 3 Ideal Protein foods a day. But you had a list, a very strict list of things that you had to stay in parameters to stay under the caloric allowance, right? So it was like, I've blocked and removed a lot of it out of my mind, but I remember people getting super creative with cauliflower and having these jicama, radishes. Like, are these foods that you eat a lot of the time normally, like willingly, and feel like you're, happy, satisfied in consuming them on a regular basis? Personally, no. But these Ideal Protein foods, you had to have 3 Ideal Protein foods a day. And according to their parameters, you could permissibly have your 3 Ideal Protein foods be these crazy freaking little vanilla Rice Krispie Squares. You could have that as your meal, as your, your partial meal replacement product for this program 3 times a day. Think about that for a second. Think about how freaking crazy that is. 3 Rice Krispie Squares for your diet to be successful. Excuse me again, feels like a little bit of a potty mouth episode, but what the fuck? Like, that's messed up. Psychologically, that is messed up to think that you can be successful in your weight loss efforts by having as part of your diet meal program 3 servings of a Rice Krispie Square and think, I am going to have these 3 Rice Krispie Squares. They are so satisfying and good. But then I'm going to torture and punish myself and have cauliflower rice, which I have to trudge through and suffer, and radishes and cooking boiled chicken or with no salt, minimal salt, and substituting real salt with this and that. Absolute, I don't feel that's helpful, beneficial at all. So with Ideal Protein, their intentions are good. And I've been to conferences and spoken to the higher ups about my experience with Ideal Protein. I even remember like when I went to a conference in Orlando with the chiropractor that I was working with at her office to support and coach folks doing Ideal Protein, because you have to have a medical practitioner, doctor, chiropractic, having this understanding about how Ideal Protein works and how to implement what I did with this and how I made it work for me, but there was still just like this disconnect in the experience to where like, why are we having these sweet treats as a every single day, multiple times a day, and still having the expectation that we're going to be successful in our weight loss efforts long term as we get into maintenance? Because are you going to be having these products forever? No, it's a means to an end. But when you're in that journey, it just doesn't make sense to me why we are having so much limiting and restricting in our choices, behavior, attitudes, feelings, beliefs towards the foods that we consume in our dedicated weight loss efforts. That is counterintuitive towards the intention and meaning of us being in a weight loss effort journey experience to begin with. I remember at the conference, I was talking about my experience and how I don't do meat and how I was still able to be successful with, the efforts that I had with Ideal Protein, even with their 3 Ideal Protein frankenfoods that we were having. My personal choice, again, pre-fasting, was the Rice Krispie Square, as I spoke about before. Honestly, again, it was this square about this big with a frosting drizzle on the top of it, and my late husband and I loved them. I would get multiple boxes at a time. And because it fit into the program so, harmoniously, that could be your 3 Ideal Protein foods of the day. 3 Rice Krispie Squares. There were other foods like drinks and soups, and there was this other thing was like a plant-based soy patty that it's a powder and you mix it and you can form it into like a little protein pancake sort of thing. Again, how much processing is in these foods and what are you communicating to your body when you eat them? And I don't remember how much, to what level there was stomach upset. I just know I remember the consistent feeling of not being full, not being satisfied, not being happy, not being content with my food choices, having to purchase foods in the grocery store that I had never tried them before. I was not familiar with how to prepare them. If you have done anything similar to Ideal Protein or ketogenic meal replacement in that sense, these jicama, sort of weird, unless you're used to preparing jicama on a regular basis, but like these foods that we wouldn't normally purchase on a regular basis, thinking that this has to be part of our regular diet. Why? What? I honestly don't see the benefit of putting ourselves through that when chances are there's a very substantial list of commonsensically nutrient-dense food choices that you can comfortably choose from and still be successful on this. So besides all this, and even after speaking to the high top people at Ideal Protein about my experience doing plant-based, meat-free, because a lot of it was like, have fish, have chicken, have pork, have beef. And I'm like, nah, nope. I feel like if we have this understanding through our journey of what these foods are providing us nutrients, how they make us feel, are they complementing our journey? Is it something that we can see ourselves continuing to happily, comfortably, compassionately continue consuming after our journey is done? Check. That's what I want. That's what I wanted to continue to do. That's what I wanted to make that shift with my dietary choices. And to not think of my diet as, I need to lose weight, I need to stick to this food list, I have to have this, that food's bad, I can only have this, and oh, I'm craving this food, this cheat food, this. My wish for each and every single one of you on your own fasting journey is that you see the food that you consume in your journey as fuel. See it as real, recognizable, nutrient-dense, beneficial to your journey. Something that you feel happy putting into your body. Something you are content with putting inside your body. To me, if you've got a living, growing list of food items, or you're like, oh, I just discovered, like, side note, here's another aside anecdote for you. I liked cauliflower before. I'm a big fan. I've used it in many different ways. Yes, even many times throughout Ideal Protein. I did the crazy, goofy things with cauliflower that many dieters have done before with cauliflower rice. And, oh, it just tastes like rice. And cauliflower mashed potatoes. Like, honestly, have the rice, have the mashed potatoes. There's ways to make rice, regular mashed potatoes, and making it work for you. Making it a complementary, enjoyable part of your journey to where meets all the needs, you feel good about it, complements your weight loss journey, and not feel like you have to have frickin' cauliflower rice on your journey or cauliflower mashed potatoes when you're actually craving the real thing. Like, have these foods, have what you like, and understanding what that balance looks like for each person is going to vary. Because the more excited and compassionate and patient you are with yourself on this journey, the better the experience is going to be, the more permanent it's going to be. The more ripples and change that you notice happen in your life will continue to ripple outward and continue to affect the rest of your life. Because I don't know about you, I had no wants, desires, and intentions of having cauliflower rice and cauliflower mashed potatoes for the rest of my life. Absolutely not. Like, to me, that was, no. I have a very significant percentage of Irish within me, and like, potato. I'm a potato girly. I have no shame in that. But did I feel like, I had to limit and remove that? I had this understanding where I knew The dose makes the poison. Dr. Fung even says this too. And I love all these little anecdotes, and I'm probably going to make like a whole podcast episode about my little isms, my Vicky isms. The dose makes the poison. Think about that. The dose makes the poison. If you allow yourself to have these complex carbohydrates that, yes, have carbs in them. No, stop demonizing. Stop demonizing carbohydrates. Your complex carbohydrates have fiber. Your body needs fiber. These also have plant proteins. There's so many different nutrients in the foods that we are able to choose for ourselves. If we look at it more in depth, what benefit does this bring to the body? Is it going to be good for your brain? Is it going to be good for your skin? Is it going to be good for your gut? Is it going to benefit your heart, your lungs, kidney, whatever? Getting excited about making these food combinations and playful with seasonal, regional choices, maybe different cultural food dishes. Like I said with the cauliflower, like I have a deep appreciation for cauliflower now. And being here with Treon's parents, and his mom made cauliflower like a few months ago now, and she just steamed a head of cauliflower, but put salt, olive oil, and lemon juice on it. That's it. It was like a religious experience. Eating cauliflower is so good. And now, like anytime I ever eat any cauliflower or broccoli or like steamed vegetables, like I want to have lemon juice on it. Like, side note, that's an added ingredient I would always recommend to folks too, after coming into that realization. Like lemon juice, simple added ingredients for flavor enhancing can be feeling quite magical. So my point with this podcast episode and talking about your sometimes and all the time food, my wish is that you are able to see and understand that the food choices that you consume on your fasting journey should morph and change along the way. For one, they should be choices in your food that you feel good about, that you feel happy, content, confident, satisfied, satiated with, that you can see yourself repeatedly coming back to time and time again, not just in your weight loss journey, but for the rest of your life. Are you going to have these Frankenfood, keto, packs, powders, mystery food that your stomach does not like to break down, metabolize, and digest? What is that communicating to your body if you're reaching for these alternative replacement foods? As real, recognizable food as possible is what I advocate. But with this understanding that our sometimes foods, our treats, our celebrations, as we're coming into the holidays, we should be present. We should allow ourselves to participate. Have a bite, have a couple bites. But you can integrate that into your fasting and your fasting and eating times seamlessly. I was still very successful in my weight loss efforts. I started in August, still maintained continued progress throughout that holiday season as well. And I'm confident that you all can do the same. I do have more details on this topic and how you can figure out what your all the time and sometimes foods are and how to successfully make that work on your fasting journey. I'm telling you, it's possible. I have countless amounts of clients and fasting friends from around the world who have shared their success with this journey and experience as well. So I know it's possible. There's a lot of this mental and emotional component that comes into this, but I'm telling you, allow yourself to focus on the fasting first and foremost. Let that be a habit, a practice where you're showing up for yourself so that these other changes and modifications can more easily come into play the further on you get into your journey, because you will understand the importance of making these changes the further on you get into this journey. It's not going to be easy or, make sense to do at the very beginning. If you try to overhaul and do everything at the beginning, you're setting yourself up for a challenge, for a really hard time. Allow yourself to excitedly, curiously get into this practice of regular habitual fasting every single day. And those other changes for your lifestyle, your health, wellness, mental, emotional, all they will happen in their due time. And I promise you that. But you got to stay consistent in showing up for yourself each and every single day. I'm going to give you all a big virtual hug. If you have more questions on sometimes all the time food recommendations, just questions about what I had in general, please reach out, Vicky@thefastingfocusedlifestyle.com. If you want support with me, for folks over here in Facebook land, if you are needing of support, please check out my website, thefastingfocusedlifestyle.com. And for folks seeing me now in the school community, I'm giving you all an even bigger, warm, squishy, I'm so glad you're here hug. I'm continuing to pour so much of this passion, project, content, things in the school community, because that's exactly the forum and format rather that I've wanted out of a group community. And we're small but mighty, but we're growing. Like there's continual more and more people each time I log on. It's a beautiful space, and I'm excited to be a part of it and to see that continue to grow. There's additional things I'm continuing to add to it all the time, and I believe in slow progress. I'm not going to rush into anything, especially with this. I want to do it and do it right. So to me, that means taking my time, as I did with fasting. So see how it trickles into everyday life. See how it trickles into other parts of your life. It can be really transformative. So with that being said, I'm going to give each of you another big, warm virtual hug, including folks listening on the podcast today. Thank you so much for hanging out and being here. Please reach out if you need help. thefastingfocusedlifestyle.com. And then we'll see you in the next podcast episode. Take care. The Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast. Copyright 2025. The information given within this podcast is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult your doctor before starting any weight loss method. Thank you.